So let's start off with the news this morning that Israel and Hamas have agreed the first part of Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza peace deal. Posting online, Trump called this the first step towards a strong, durable and everlasting peace in the Middle East and praised mediators from Qatar, Egypt and Turkey. Blessed are the peacemakers, he said. There's his classically quite long Truth Social post, although there is a lot to say. Keir Starmer said the agreement was a moment of profound relief. Israel's government will meet later today to formally approve the deal, potentially as soon as 10 o'clock this morning. So we'll go into a few nuts and bolts in a minute, but your first reaction, Samuel?
Yeah, it's really good news. Long overdue. Over 67,000 people are reported to have died in Gaza since the events of October 7th. And so long overdue, but we should all be very cautious about whether this ceasefire will happen and also whether it will be sustained, not just because of Hamas, but also, from my perspective, more importantly, because of the behaviour of the Israeli government. And so we should be very positive about the role that many of these leaders have played in bringing this about, but we should be cautiously optimistic.
What do you think?
Yeah, the fact that one of the last pieces of the puzzle is to allow aid in, I think is sickening. You know, a whole nation has been systematically starved. But of course it's positive news. Of course we want to see an end of the constant bombardment on the Palestinian people. So many deaths, and I know we're going to get into it a bit later as well. But, you know, I really hope Netanyahu sticks to it. I have so many questions about what this actually really means, given that we've seen leading Israeli figures like Smotrich talking about the Gaza Riviera that they wish to build. You know, how much agency do Palestinians have within this deal, or is this a chance?
Look at this. These pictures are incredible. I mean, I don't see how you can actually rebuild it, because if you build a hospital, the chances are that something goes wrong and it's bombed within a second. So.
I mean, it can be, if there's one thing that you will get when you visit the Middle East is just how impressive they are at building something out of rubble, essentially, or nothing, and places like the UAE, Qatar, etc. So there's no doubt in my mind that with the right resources and ambitions, they can rebuild Gaza. The challenge is, can peace be sustained?
Well, let's have a look at the actual line-by-line peace deal. So the ceasefire will go into effect immediately if the deal is approved. That's the first step. The actual ceasefire, which is vital, is where Israel will withdraw troops to an agreed line. White House officials reportedly say this could take less than 24 hours. That's the first thing. Once that is complete, then Hamas start moving on the hostages, and they have 72 hours to release the hostages. There are 48 hostages, 20 of whom are thought to still be alive, so they have to release bodies as well as living people. Living hostages could be released as early as Saturday. Trump thinks all of them, including the deceased, will be coming back by Monday. That's what he says. Then 250 Palestinian prisoners and 1,700 Gazans detained by Israeli forces will be released in exchange, a Palestinian official told the BBC. So hostages go in one direction, prisoners go in another. It's thought that 400 aid trucks will be allowed into Gaza daily during the first 5 days, so that's part of this as well. You've got then the Israeli withdrawal, and I mentioned the aid. There we are. OK, that's it.
So why are the Palestinian hostages called prisoners? Because they're hostages too.
Well,
many of them have just been kidnapped and taken and tied up and shackled and taken for no reason.
Israel would see them as enemy combatants, wouldn't they? So, but I'm not...
But I know, OK, but, you know, how many children have died during this? And, you know, this is the point with Trump enabling this. He could have pulled the plug at any time. And when you have got so many children wiped out, we had an Israeli official the other day saying that 20,000 Hamas members had been killed. And yet 18,467 is the official number of children killed.
Yeah, I think that the challenge here is not just about peace, but also reconciliation. So I've been to Israel, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. I've been to West Bank. I never went into Gaza, but been into the West Bank. And when you speak to people there, particularly on the Israeli side, maybe less so on the Palestinian side, the hardness of hearts towards the Palestinian people is quite striking. And so for you to have lasting peace, you have to find a way to get people to build credible relations.
But you won't. But I mean,
the willingness to do
it'll
that
take
is lacking.
But yeah, exactly. And also, if you're in Gaza and you're a surviving, let's say, 10-year-old male, and you've lost your mum and your dad and your aunts and your uncles and
your legs,
you're gonna. Well, yeah, but let's assume you've got your legs. What are you going to do with your adult body when you become adult? Where are you going to go? What's your mission in life going to be? Let's have a guess. So we first got the sense that something big was happening when Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, passed the president a handwritten note at a White House influencer event. Trump there,
I think that was staged.
Reading it.
So performative.
Definitely
The
staged.
note said, "Very close. We need you to approve a Truth Social post soon, so you can announce deal first." They got a glimpse of it.
Plug your own platform in front of influencers.
Well, you think that was done deliberately?
Yes.
He wanted his George Bush 9/11 moment, right? Give you a note, whisper in your ear. Why do you need to both have a whisper and a note?
Yeah. Also,
Let's just go back to this, just so we see the schedule here, because I'm worried I messed it up earlier. You have the ceasefire first, hostage release, that's the Palestinians releasing hostages, or Hamas. Prisoners back the other way, those are Palestinians released by Israel. Israel withdrawal, which can happen quickly, and then aid. And Jemma, you think aid shouldn't be at the bottom, it should be at the top.
Absolutely shouldn't. It is a war crime to starve a population. This has been called genocide by pretty much everybody now except America, even the UK. So you know, these war crimes that are being carried out, the obliteration, and their intention has been to wipe out this race.
Yeah.
So it's
But
just...
well, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think from an Israeli perspective, the issue is not necessarily to wipe out the race, but to take more territory. So even when we look at the detail around the withdrawal, it is very likely that this map will be redrawn so that Israel
Samuel, you don't see this as being something that was prompted by what happened at the Nova Music Festival on October the 7th and would not have happened otherwise?
I think it was an inevitability.
You think Israel would have done this otherwise?
I think Israel would have continued to try to take more land because they're a growing population, bluntly. And so their aspirations, ultimately, for not everybody, but for a lot of Israelis or the Israeli government, is to have more land, and also for Palestinians to be dispersed somewhere else.
Yeah, displaced.
And to be honest, the history of that small strip of land is ever thus, right? Whether it was the Romans, the Jewish people, now the Palestinian people, it's just how things have worked out.
But look at the sequencing here. I mean, you're both sort of arguing the same thing, but it wouldn't have happened without the Hamas attack on Israel, would it?
Absolutely was, as we all agree, revolting, disgusting, depraved. However, has Netanyahu then used that to a degree because the reaction, whilst they had absolutely every right to go and sort of fight, but it's disproportionate.
And of course there's a Roman called Tacitus who said they make a desert and call it peace, and that's kind of where we are with it. But I don't know whether it's in Israel's interest to have what would be Northern Ireland times 100 on their border.
But we also have to remember that Netanyahu, when that music festival happened, the timing for him is that if he hadn't proceeded with this, he would have been probably not in power, arguably perhaps in court. And there's hundreds of thousands of Israelis marching against him as well. We have to, keep talking about that as well.
We'll talk about Trump here, because in the end, he's the one with a note in his hand which says we're close to peace, and they seem to be close to an end of this conflict or war, whatever you want to call it. Does Trump deserve the Nobel Peace Prize? Because although he was America first, he spent a lot of time thinking about other conflicts, and he says he's already solved 7 wars. This would make it 8. 020 7862 2222 is the number you need. Now, your calls on whether Donald Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize after Israel and Hamas agreed to the first phase of his peace deal. 020 7862 2222. Families of Israelis taken hostage have expressed their profound gratitude to Trump. Here is the Hostage and Missing Families Forum on a call with the president.
President Trump, you have the best crowd in the world. What do you guys have to say to President Trump?
Thank you. Blessed be the peacemakers. God bless you, Mr. President. God bless America.
Thank you very much. You just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
Former hostages and family members also celebrated the news in Tel Aviv. There were celebrations in Gaza as well, with some people there reportedly telling journalists, "Thank God for Trump." Now, who are we watching there? That's Gaza? Okay. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also thanked Trump and his team from the bottom of my heart. Hamas too say they valued his efforts and called on him to ensure Israel sticks to the agreement. Speaking on Fox News, Trump talked up the wide impact of his efforts.
The whole world came together, to be honest. So many countries that you wouldn't have even thought of it. They came together. The world has come together around this deal. So great for Israel, so great for Muslims, for the Arab countries, and so great for this country, for the United States of America, and that we could be involved in, making a deal like this happen, because it was, many years they talked about peace in the Middle East. This is more than Gaza. This is peace in the Middle East.
The Nobel Peace Prize is announced tomorrow. Should Trump be a contender, we're asking. So there was him talking on the phone about his deal, and he can take a lot of credit for it.
Yeah, no, I'd agree on balance. Look, he became president again in January, so this is less than a year. And, we still have a war in Ukraine, but he's managed to get Putin, over at the table to negotiate a few times. He was involved in the de-escalation in Pakistan and in India.
I mean, Putin has played him. Come on. Well, you can't seriously say he's got anywhere with Putin.
He's still gotten to a point where they are in active discussions. Obviously, we'd all want the war to end. And it looks like we're going to have a ceasefire in Gaza. And so actually, for less than a year, that is a pretty good innings, I know he says he's helped to end 7 wars. I'm not so sure about that figure.
Well, this is
but nonetheless.
But he said, he got some of them wrong, because he said Albania and Azerbaijan, and they weren't at war. And in fact, Azerbaijan is not a country. Journalist and friend of the show, Angela Epstein, is in Israel right now. Let's go back to this, Angela. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard the show so far, but both my guests here are quite sceptical about Israel's intentions, to say the least.
Israel's intentions. Could
Yes.
I just respectfully say that October the 7th, the war that happened as a consequence of that, was not a war Israel wanted. They were invaded by genocidal terrorists who committed the worst atrocity and mass murder of Jewish people since the Holocaust. So had October the 7th not happened, we wouldn't be here. So I think the panelists need to reflect on that before they say anything else. In terms of the deal, I'm here in Israel where we are surrounded by pictures of hostages. The country has been bleeding, as have the innocent people of Gaza, since October the 7th happened. Had at any point Hamas disarmed and returned the hostages, all the consequent military action that occurred wouldn't have happened. So, the fact that we are where we are, it's taken over 2 years. We just marked the 2nd anniversary of October the 7th. I think the country here is holding its breath. That's the feeling I'm getting from here. The idea of returning the hostages and the end of hostilities is the dream. It's the fruit that, it's not low-hanging fruit, but it's just within grasp.
Just to ask you about this, it obviously involves Hamas, which we might have thought wouldn't be the case, because Israel's almost had a precondition: we cannot do anything with Hamas. Israel also bombed Qatar to kill the Hamas negotiating team. I haven't seen it, but in this, is there a guarantee that, or should there be a guarantee that if Hamas arrive to negotiate something, they won't be murdered?
You're talking about terrorists. You've got to understand, Jeremy, which is what so many people, some of your panelists including, don't understand. The central tenet of the Jewish faith is the sanctity of human life. All life. Nobody wants a single drop of blood. They just want the terrorists home. They just want the killing and the hostilities to stop. But you are negotiating with genocidal terrorists who have got form in messing around, playing cat and mouse, last minute, withdrawing from any kind of negotiation.
I know, Angela, sorry. My question is really about the practicality of, if we go back to the Second World War, when we, the Allies, USA, took the German surrender, this is like the Germans come into the tent to sign the surrender and they get shot by Churchill. So isn't there a danger, as soon as Hamas arrive to sign their bit of the deal, they all get killed?
Okay, well, I haven't got a crystal ball. I would like to think that doesn't seem to be the sentiment here in this country. It's easy to postulate on that, but absolutely not. The fact is that if they agree to the deal, then on Monday, we may actually see the pitifully few hostages who are still alive returned home. There are pictures everywhere of the babies and children who've been killed by Hamas.
So
the few that are
Jemma,
alive, let them be returned home.
We're not in Israel. We don't see what Angela sees there, Jemma, which is, as she says, Israel is bleeding over these hostages.
Yep.
Imagine if this had been UK hostages taken. We would know all their names. We'd see their photos every day.
Yes.
And we don't talk about this side of it enough, do we?
Listen, of course, seeing those relatives gathered around that phone who obviously have been in living hell, in absolute purgatory since the day that disgusting thing happened, of course my heart goes out to them, as much as my heart goes out to the nearly 20,000 children who've been massacred. And if your heart doesn't go out to them as well, Angela, then that is problematic. And I'm sorry, but you were rather patronising. Of course, everybody here wants to see the hostages returned. Everybody wants to see an end to this endless violence. But Netanyahu has committed endless war crimes. Do you at least...
OK, so here's the thing. I don't want one single life that's killed. Innocent life is one too many. There's a saying in the Talmud, he who saves one life saves the world entire. So please don't lecture me about the idea of me not caring about the innocent people that were killed. This is war. In war, Jeremy just referred to the Second World War. The Allies killed thousands of innocent people. We didn't send in aid, by the way, to the enemy. Hang on, I'm making a point. Let me finish, because I know that when you put out statistics which can't be supported, what happens is, and I know it's not your intention, let me be very clear on this, you embolden and give ammunition to anti-Semites, who then feel even greater that their Jew hatred ends up with killings on the doorstep of a synagogue down the road from where I live.
Angela, this is problematic, where people conflate Jewish people with genocide. That is absolutely outrageous.
Okay,
on the marches, I have met thousands of people. I went on the Jewish corner.
We're going to talk about Trump.
We have many prominent Jews.
All right,
no,
go on,
Jeremy,
Angela,
I need to address this point.
Yep.
Jeremy, I just need to address this point very quickly. If the two have nothing to do with each other, why would two people killed on the doorstep of my home, just down the road from me, the synagogue where I got married?
Hang on, Jemma, hang on, let her finish.
If Jew hatred has got nothing to do with anti-Semitism. The point that we're talking about here, and we can argue, I'm not going to convince you, but the point we're talking about now is that we are on the cusp of a potential peace deal. Now, peace and Hamas are terms that are mutually exclusive. The word Hamas, what does it mean? It means chaos. So we need to know that they will subscribe to what Trump wants.
Okay, let Jemma come back in quickly.
The depraved, disgusting lunatic who attacked two people in a synagogue is a depraved, disgusting lunatic. You can have more than two ideas in your head at once. You can think that the Israeli government are genocidal, okay, but that does not represent Jews. I don't believe that Jewish people should be represented by the Israeli government.
OK, let's talk about Trump here.
That's interesting.
In the same way that I don't think jihadi lunatics represent Muslims.
Can I just say that 80% of Jewish people, over 80% of Jewish people subscribe to the idea of Zionism and the right of the Jewish people to self-determination. So it's very difficult to separate Israel from Judaism. And this idea, this blasé use of the word, this is important, Jeremy, the blasé use of the word genocide, the definition of which is laid down after the Second World War, is the deliberate massacre of a group of ethnic people.
I know what it means.
Precisely because of their identity. Well, clearly you don't. Because if Israel wanted to commit genocide, it could have gone into Gaza on day one and flattened the place.
So this
let's just go. Hang on. We have not
move.
mentioned the thing we're discussing, which is whether Donald Trump should have a peace prize. From this discussion, it sounds like it's a bit early for that. Go on, Sammy.
Can I just say, this is the reason why. As I said, I've been to Israel, I've been to the West Bank. why lasting peace is such a challenge. So many people's hearts are so hard and so entrenched that they are not willing to see the other side's perspective, and they are unwilling to build those really important bridges that go beyond anything that you write in the paper. At the end of the day, every Israeli person is a human being. They have hopes, they have fears, they have reasons why they're apprehensive about things that might happen. I was on the Gaza border, and I went to visit a Jewish lady's home, and she showed me places where there were still remnants from rockets that were sent over from Hamas. So I get that. But the other side of the story is there are Palestinians who also want their right to self-determination and to live. I think Donald Trump probably does, on balance, deserve the Peace Prize, because what he has done is he's been able to bring various people around the table, and he's also...
You think he should get the Peace Prize?
And he's also been able to keep
Let's take a call. Let's take a call. William in Renfrewshire, sorry to keep you hanging on, my friend. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jeremy.
Should Donald Trump get the Peace Prize? Let's go straight there.
No, sorry, no. He weaponised them fully when he came into his presidency, as usual, like most of the Yanks do. The Yanks should have sat down a long time ago and pulled the two together. And just remember, I come on your programme for the first time about 2 years ago about this, and I said, for 1948, the Palestinians were under apartheid, their kids have been killed in the streets. Your clergymen from Britain were going over the Holy Land, and people in Palestine were getting murdered. All sorts of things were going on, and nobody lifted a finger. And the last big problem was your journalists sitting in Jerusalem, sending information back to Britain. They're disgusting. They should have refused to do that. They should have either get into Palestine or withdrew.
OK, all right, thank you. We've got a lot of history here in the last two years, let alone the last 60. Thank you, William. Thank you, Angela, for joining us from Israel. So, Jemma and Samuel are with us. We've thanked Angela, who is in Israel, talking about the Gaza deal and whether it's time for Trump to get the Nobel Peace Prize. So you think not?
No.
You don't? You think it's too early, do you?
No, I think he could.
He could get it right.
Yeah,
OK.
yeah.
The prize is announced tomorrow. Trump has made no secret of the fact that he does want it.
They will never give me a Nobel Peace Prize.
What would happen? What would happen if Israel?
I deserve it, but they will never give it to me.
What would happen?
They might, though. What he's a guy who is in business, and he says, "This is what I want."
That's not why you should.
And he asks for it.
He's the same guy that took one of the medals from the Club World Cup. He just likes winning, you know.
Yeah, he did, because I support Chelsea, and we've now all of our team photos have got Donald Trump in because he joined the team. But if it doesn't matter if he's done it. At least nobody else will die.
But the last ceasefire that was negotiated, Israel ignored it and carried on bombing.
That's what we've got to hope, doesn't it? In that case, he won't get the Nobel Prize. Let's just hope this one sticks.
But Putin, you mentioned Putin earlier on. When they met, they went in for a one-on-one, and Putin came out looking like the cat that's got the cream. I'm sorry, in my opinion, he's got stuff on Trump. Trump is weak.
Well, yeah, OK,
and also,
that's a separate...
where are the Epstein files?
It is the concern, in a way...
Wow.
Well, hang on, let's not just drift all over the place here. The concern, in a way, is if you bomb the Hamas negotiating team in Qatar and kill
ridiculous.
The son of the lead negotiator,
Absolutely
how does that help you get a negotiated peace? I still can't get my head around that.
This is why Trump deserves a prize, because he managed to still keep them round the table.
No, and he's also...
The
all right, so
Qataris, despite...
He's made up
let's talk
that
to... Sorry, Jemma. Let's talk to Andrew in West Yorkshire. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, what do we think? Let's stick on Trump here.
So the question of Nobel Peace Prize, I don't know, maybe he does deserve it, but you can't deny the fact that he's definitely been involved in that many deals and tried to stop that many wars or so. That's what's being said across the world.
He's given us a list, and we'll get the list out. Maybe we can play it in the next part, where he named 7, and it was Israel. Oh, this is like a quiz question, isn't it? He meant to say Armenia, Azerbaijan, India, Pakistan, who were kind of jousting. He said Ukraine. God, what else, Andrew?
Well, you remember the Rocket Man?
Yeah, North Korea. He definitely stopped the North Korean guy. Yeah. So you think sounds like you think he's done quite well?
Well, he's definitely involved. He's definitely involved in the middle of all of it. And if he can do something to stop this war, then fair play to him. Give him a Nobel Peace Prize. He's definitely not a loser, and he's definitely a winner.
There we are, Jemma.
Yeah, I mean, he's funded it, and he could have sort of pulled the plug at any point. So
Yeah, I mean,
he's chosen to do it now, the day before the Nobel Peace Prize. And also the thing about ending 7-8 wars was just like rubbish, I think.
Well, we're trying to name the ones he's ended, but he says
rubbish.
He certainly gave the names of 8 countries, or 7. And Andrew, thank you. Craig in Northamptonshire, would you give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize?
Hi, good morning. Round trees of York. Jelly tots.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I would like to think that they'd give him some sort of honorary part of the Nobel Peace Prize, if that's possible. Because
no, it's not. You either get it or you don't, Craig.
Just give the knob part.
You can't give him the...
Wow.
You can't give him the highly... No, come on, we're in serious territory here.
Well,
you can't give him a highly commended.
Okay,
that's not how it works.
Right. So they don't give it to him. And do you think he'll be all for peace in the Middle East?
That's not why you should give it to him.
It's not why you win it.
But
Samuel.
That's not why you should give it to him. But who has done more than him? That's the question. In the last 9-10 months, to try and secure peace across the world, who has done more than Donald Trump?
Greta Thunberg.
Oh, my life.
Not sure. But, of course, Trump has spent time. His time is precious.
Yeah.
And he came in as America first. He wasn't going to take any interest whatsoever in the rest of the world. And the world has simply captured him.
Yeah, but his argument is war in other parts of the world has a direct impact on America. And that's why he's interested.
But he was told that again and again during the election campaign. He ignored it. He said we can keep out of everything.
He's undermined NATO. He's destabilised quite a few alliances.
Undermined NATO?
Yeah, he's flirted with Putin, basically.
More investment in defence from every NATO member is not undermining NATO.
But he's suggested that America might leave it. Craig, thank you. We must take more calls. We're getting onto this Trump. Should he be given a Nobel Peace Prize subject? 0207 862 2222. First, this just takes some more calls on Trump and should he get the Nobel Peace Prize. We're still registering this deal. Israel and Hamas have signed. That in its own way is incredible that Israel... One week they try to bomb Hamas and then they're almost signing a deal with them. Sophia in Oxfordshire, is this a massive moment for Trump, do you think?
No, not at the moment. It's too early to say that. And also, Jeremy, is the Nobel Peace Prize. You have to earn it, not to be asking. At the moment, Trump, he's asking to get, and he's desperate to get Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, it's funny.
My worries, and my worries is Netanyahu going to stick with this deal? If he stick with this deal and the Palestine will have their own state and be recognized for that, yes, he can be given Nobel Peace Prize. But at the moment, it's too early for him to get that.
That might be another 100 years, but yes, thank you very much if there is a two-state solution. Which now Britain, of course, not only backs that, but they've recognised Palestine as an entity now, as a nation. Gina in London, should Donald Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Morning. First of all, can I say, I read about a celebrated fireman in the US who he was always the first to, when there was a big fire all over America, and it turns out it was him that was causing the fire.
I know where you're going.
He was the one. And to me, this is Trump. These people are narcissists. You know, you don't ask for a prize.
So you mean he starts the fire and then he claims credit for putting it out?
Nowadays we can see what's happening. We don't have to wait for the news on the radio, read the newspapers. Everything is unfolding in front of us because of technology. And so some of us are easily manipulated, but some of us aren't. And, he caused the riot. He caused the riot when he lost, I think it was the 2020 election. He caused racism.
January the 6th,
He's divisive. What can't we see?
I'll tell you something that might... Listen, Gina, this might take the other side of it, is that he doesn't like wars at all. He doesn't like fighting. He thinks, presumably, it's a waste of time and money. He doesn't like to see people... You think he does like fighting?
The US...
Hang on, Gina.
He's the silent killer.
OK, one second, Gina, sorry.
At the UN, the US blocked a motion for a ceasefire 6 times. Just the US.
The UN has no teeth. If it was not going to help to bring peace, lasting peace, then I can understand the argument that actually this was counterproductive at the time. I'm not saying I completely agree, but I can understand the thinking behind it.
It doesn't show resolution to be a peacemaker.
They blocked a ceasefire. That's right. They blocked a ceasefire, but now they say they've got the peace deal. Interesting. Gina, thank you. Andrew in London, hi.
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning.
Do you think he should get it?
Not at all. I mean, Biden, right? Biden actually had the same deal, which they rejected. My thing is what does this say about humanity when we all know about Donald Trump? And we all know that he could have stopped this war a long time ago. It will end the sovereignty and the people that have received the award. It will be over. Donald Trump is an arsonist who added fuel to a really dark period of history. And it says more about us as human beings if we even entertain that thought. It's really bad.
Okay. Well, Gaza, it's difficult to see it as a war because it's not state versus state, which is traditionally a war. And if you're trying to defeat the people of Gaza, you sure as hell have done that. Israel have done that. But I don't know whether at this point the Gaza is so broken that there is no war, there's just nothing at all. And then peace is a cinch, isn't it? Because stopping fighting is fine when the other side is
You've had
dead.
children having their limbs taken off in hospital with no anaesthetic. This has been the most brutal, barbaric, and I'm going to say the word genocide in a considered way, because that is the consensus around the world.
You don't think genocide?
No, definitely.
You do?
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
So you both think genocide?
Yeah.
OK. Andrew in London, thank you. Lark?
Hello.
What do you want to say in Leicestershire?
So what I want to say is that no politician, in my opinion, deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, especially with this ongoing genocide. It is a genocide. It's not a war. It's not a conflict. The IDF has attacked unarmed, displaced, hungry civilians who have nothing to protect themselves with. We've seen it live on our TVs. It has affected everybody's mental health. You know who deserves a Nobel Peace Prize? Every common man and woman and child who has stepped out of their comfort zone, who have wanted this ceasefire from day one. Not a politician, and it's not just Trump. It's also the Middle East, the Qataris, everybody.
Wait a minute, you're saying from day one. So the day after the Nova Music Festival attack, where 1,200 died, you think Israel should have had a ceasefire then?
I don't support any sort of violence, but Jeremy, you need to understand this didn't start on October 7th. It started with the Balfour Declaration.
Well, that's a fair comment.
What about the Nakba? What about Israeli soldiers coming online? You can see it on Instagram, on Facebook, talking about the Nakba, how girls were raped, how people were killed. And we've seen it live on our TV. What about the newborn babies who were left in incubators to die? The journalists,
you're talking about in Gaza nurses, in the last 2 years.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable that the politicians, Trump, who could have stopped it, Keir Starmer, why did we send all the armaments, weaponry to Israel? Israel couldn't have continued this war without the support from Europe and from US.
Yeah. All right. Listen, thank you, Rahana. That's food for thought in many levels. Sorry about that.